Next slide. As a reminder, we have ASL interpreters on the call with us this morning. During the event, your participant's view will follow the view of a BHA panelist. ASL interpreters will be available to you during the event if you wish to utilize this. Hover over your interpretation icon at the bottom of your screen and select American Sign Language if you wish to view this channel. You may adjust the ratio of a screen being shared and panelist videos visible by hovering your cursor to the left of the panelist until your cursor changes to a horizontal arrow. Left click and drag your cursor across the screen until you have reached your preferred view. Closed captioning has been enabled for this event. Click on the closed captioning button at the bottom of your Zoom window to turn on subtitles. If you need to change the subtitle language, click the caret to the right of the button and translate to your chosen language. If you are a member of the public and have technical difficulties, please send a message in the Q&A. As a reminder, all council members are able to unmute. Please raise your hand to be acknowledged prior to speaking, and please identify yourself. The Q&A feature is open for all attendees. However, all comments and questions may not be addressed in real time. The chat feature will be open for the last 10 minutes. The council will determine how to address any public comments or questions that we do not get to today. Recording is in progress for note-taking purposes and for any council members not in attendance. All future meeting dates, agendas, and minutes will be posted to the BHAAC website. Any questions or comments regarding the council or BHA can be submitted via the Contact Us section at the bottom on the BHA website. As a reminder for our group agreements, we ask that everyone listen and engage respectfully. Remember that differences of opinion are natural and useful. Have an open mind, be curious, and be bold. Everyone has equal voice and valuable contribution. Take space and make space. Keep to time and agenda, start and end meetings on time. No acronyms, please. And it's okay to turn off your camera and take time to reset at any time during the meeting. Quick review of our agenda. Currently, we are in the process of calling to order, and then we will move on to roll call. Following that, we will have adoption of the July 18th agenda, and then a May meeting minutes approval, followed by BHAAC business with Caitlin Long, our boards and commissions coordinator, and BHA commissioner update with Commissioner Smith, and then we'll have a break at 10:15. When we return, we'll cover the BHAAC annual report subcommittee updates, a 988 update, public comment, and then adjournment. With that, I will pass it over to Cameron Vigil, our chair of the day. Welcome, Cameron.
Hi, everyone. Good morning. So first I want to call this meeting to order. Do we have a second motion?
Tasha Conker, second that.
Thanks, Tasha. Great. I think we could go to roll call. And forgive me, I'm just going to pull up our attendance sheet real quick. All right. Karen Renee Anderson. Ashley Onan. Robert Archuleta.
Present.
Raquel Garcia.
Present.
Carolyn Hall.
Present.
Tasha Concert.
Concar, present.
Conquer, my apology. You just said that. I'm sorry, I'm horrible with names. Dr. K. Maria Martinez,
Present.
Noor Shafi,
Present.
and it looks like we have two folks highlighted in yellow. Is that, should I still share their names, Megan? It's Raina Shaner.
You can still call their names.
Okay. Raina, Andrea Sivanich, okay, Jamie Oltrich, Catherine Washington,
Present.
Seth Watkins,
Present.
and then Solon Whiteskunk. Great. Good morning, everyone. And then I think our next agenda item is to motion to adopt the July 18th agenda for the day.
Cameron, really quick, I just want to acknowledge that we are aware that the ASL channel is not working currently, so we are working on it. I just wanted to make that announcement real quick.
Thank you.
Good news, it looks like a quorum was established, so that's great. If anybody just wants to second the adoption of the agenda.
I second.
Great. And then I think we're looking at May minutes. Are there any corrections to the minutes that we need to make from May? If not, I motion to approve our minutes for today. Is there a second?
I second to approve the minutes for today. Last month, or last 2 months, I'm sorry.
For May. Seth, are you seconding, or do you have a question? Or
I was just basically voting yes if we have to vote on it, so.
Thanks.
I also, Caitlin, want to acknowledge Jamie's here.
Got it. Mark them as present. Thank you,
Thanks.
Jamie.
Awesome. All right, moving into some BHAAC business. I believe we have a vote that we need to do for some special sessions in August. So, if I'm reading this correctly, I think we have one special session we're looking at on August 15th from 9 to 11, where we're going to finalize our BHAAC annual report and vote on our official BHAAC chair and vice chair, and ensure that our volunteer chair for these, that we have a volunteer for this special session meeting as well.
Just to give everybody a little bit of context around that, so we've been meeting with the annual report subcommittee. We've been kind of increasing our schedule. It was every other week, but we've kind of moved it to started to be weekly, realizing that we just need that extra time to meet and get everything organized and together. So I know that last year's report was a little bit difficult and not everybody felt like they had their voices heard, and it felt a little rushed and kind of put together, even though the members who facilitated it did a great job with what they had. And so this year we want to present it differently. We want to involve the council as a whole more. And so because we are not meeting again until technically September after the report is due, we wanted to meet with you all one more time in August and call that special meeting together to show you the progress that has been made after this council meeting and how your feedback's been incorporated from this council meeting as well. So that's kind of the context around it. And then also, in speaking with the executive subcommittee as well as the report subcommittee, the establishment of a chair and vice chair seems very important to this council, which we are in complete support and agreement with. I think that will help with just the overall flow and organization of this council as well. And so we included in that email with the agenda and linked in the agenda, I'm also going to be dropping it in the chat, is the link for the officer nomination form. And basically, you'll go in and be able to select a chair and a vice chair. You're more than able to nominate yourself as well. And then based off of your feedback on that, I will reach out to the highest voted officers to gauge their interest in serving in these positions. And then we'll come together at that August meeting and do a formalized vote, so they'll be formally elected into office at that point. So just kind of wanted to give a little bit of context as to why we're calling this special meeting, because I know it is, a little extra time out of your day, but it is very, very important. And, we're hearing your comments and concerns. We wanted to acknowledge that and give this extra space to you all. Seth?
Yeah, will this meeting be open to the public with public comment?
Because it's a special sessions meeting, I believe it will. Ryan, can I lean on you for this one? I'm not 100% sure with the special meetings yet.
Yes, this is Ryan Templeton, Policy and External Affairs Division Director with the Behavioral Health Administration. Yes, all of these BHAAC meetings will be open to the public. They'll be formally posted on the website as well to make sure that there is full community access if folks want to join as guests.
Cameron, I'm going to pass it over to you to see if you want to go ahead and take that formal vote for the members to see if we can go ahead and get this scheduled.
Yeah, I move that we vote for the special session on August 15th. Do we have any seconds?
I second that. Tasha Conker.
Great, I believe we move into a vote then, and I cannot see everyone's face. And each of you say aye or raise your hands in the chat, please.
Aye.
Looks like I see the majority of the hands up, Caitlin.
I do as well. Great. Anybody opposed? Give you seconds to put the virtual hands down just in case. All right, Seth and Raquel.
I have a question.
Yes, Carolyn.
So I'm going to be out of town on the 15th and I won't be able to do this, but is there a way that it can be sent out so that I could read it ahead of time and then vote and then send in my vote? Would that be possible?
Yes, so I'm dropping in the chat right now the officer nomination form. It was linked into the agenda as well, but I'm going to go ahead and drop it in the chat here so you all can see this. And then basically it's very, very simple. You'll go in and there is a list of all of the voting members' names for chair and vice chair. You can select as many participants as you would vote for as chair. Again, you can nominate yourself. And based off of your vote, I will reach out to the highest voted officers to gauge their interest. So that way we can give them a little bit of time, to review the roles and responsibilities and the commitment that we're asking of them. And if they agree to it, then we'll formally present their names and do just a formal vote at that special meeting session in August. So you will have at least this form in order to be able to put your input in so we can reach out.
So I was thinking about for the 15th of August, I'm not going to be here. So for the annual report, can I get that sent to me ahead of time so that I can give my vote?
Absolutely, absolutely. We're going to be working through it today. The report subcommittee has a presentation this afternoon, so we're going to go over everything that we have done thus far, and then we'll be asking for the feedback on that, and then we'll continue moving forward. So we're looking to get the finalized report done by around August 15th, so that way we can send it out to members a little bit ahead of time to be able to review and things of that nature as well.
Thank you.
Absolutely. All right. So again, we've kind of done the officer nomination form, the vote for the special sessions meeting as well, and then wanted to talk about the first draft of the BHAAC bylaws. So you have all received a copy of this. I'm going to be dropping it in the chat again. You received a copy of this on July 2nd, and along with this, you received a link to the BHAAC bylaw feedback form. So wanted to kind of just speak with you all a little bit about kind of what these bylaws are and how we're going to continue to work together to build them out. So when I first got here, it was I think it was my second day, and this was my first task. And so it felt really good to be able to, do that big check mark and say that we got the first draft out. So in these bylaws, you're going to see a lot of your previous bylaws incorporated into, I'm doing parenthesis quotes, standardized bylaws. And that just means that we've taken language from statute and we've kind of defined a little bit more of the roles and responsibilities of these councils. It's going to include, things of the position of the officers, such as the chair and vice chair. It's going to break down subcommittees' roles and responsibilities a little bit more as well as recruitment preparation and planning and things of that nature. So wanted to start working together with you all to continue to build these out. We know that each of these councils are unique in their own way, and we really want to work together to build these bylaws in a way that fits the needs of this council. So when we're saying standardization, we're saying that this is just kind of like the starting point with this, and this is, just like the I's and dotted and the T's crossed, but then we want to continue to work with you all to make this unique to fit the needs of your council. So I just wanted to give you all a little bit of space to ask any questions that you might have. If you, want to start working together on these more, how would you like to do that? Do you think that the feedback form is enough? Just kind of wanted to hear from you all at this point. Steph?
Beth, you're on mute if you're talking.
Beth, did you have a question or a comment? We saw your hand go up. Just want to give you the space if so. All right, maybe not. Anybody else? It's a little early on a Thursday, so.
Can you please repeat that question for me, Caitlin? This is Tasha Conker.
Absolutely. I really just kind of wanted to give you all the space to talk about bylaws right now. I know that you've had a couple of weeks, not too long, to start reviewing them. But if you had any questions about the current first draft of bylaws that went out, questions with regards to accessing the bylaw feedback form, or just wanted to make sure and where to put any comments or questions you might have about them. And then, basically how you want to continue to build these out together. Do you think that the feedback form is enough and we can start incorporating your feedback that way, and I can send you out a second draft in a couple of weeks? Just wanted to give you all the space to talk about the bylaws. Raquel?
I think sometimes, some of us, I'm a better audible processor than filling out 1,000 forms that come into my inbox every week.
Understand.
It tends to send me into overwhelm. And so, discussions are always more beneficial to me. Even live active sessions where you're note taking while we're giving input seem to be a lot more conducive to me than feedback forms. Because to be really honest, there's so many right now that come in from the state of Colorado from all these different avenues that it becomes extremely overwhelming. So, yeah, I don't even know what can be done about that. I don't have anything on the bylaws. I didn't see anything that red flagged me. So I didn't have anything, but maybe for others and their different learning styles. I just know that from doing service work that might be a reason. If you're not getting anything, it might be a block. Sometimes people struggle with the written, just writing.
Absolutely. Do you think it might be helpful if I set up like an informational session that members can join and participate if they so wish?
I think that's brilliant.
Kind of review
Because even if
them.
because if they're recorded, even people can listen to it later, right? And then if you're an audible processor, that seems more reasonable. And I always say that even in my own organization, like we can set this up, everybody who attends can attend, so we don't have to dance around trying to coordinate 5,000 schedules.
Right.
And then we can record it and people who can't can at least listen to that, and it helps people process later. And even if, I tell people you can also give back recordings. So if you guys on the team are struggling with written responses, there's things like voice clips on your phone, or you can record to your computer and send those also to Caitlin, and she could note take from your verbal responses. That's always another way to get around some of those, remove some barriers for you.
It's a great idea, Raquel. Thank you. So if nobody's opposed to it, I can go ahead and send out within a little bit. Oh, Tasha?
I just want to ask a few questions, like, so everybody's on the same page. What is your guys' definition of standardized? So we're all on the same page, because like I had mentioned previous, standardized could be different for meanings for anybody. So I just want to make sure that they're clear and transparent on what you guys mean by standardized.
Are you asking the council as a whole or BHA?
The BHA.
Okay, sorry. Just want to make sure I understood your question. So again, I want to do the parenthesis quotes of standardized, because I know that word seems just like we're just, checking boxes and just blank across the board. That is not our intention. And when we started using the word standardized, the more that we started talking about it and understanding it, we're like, I don't think that's a good word. So that's why we're doing the parenthesis quotes around it. So standardization in the sense of we want to just be across the board when it comes to the statutory requirements. As you will see on Article 1 under the creation and duties, that is all going to be statutory language. That's going to come with like the membership and seat requirements and things like that. Then in the process of standardization, wanted to kind of formally lay out, the roles and responsibilities of officers, as well as subcommittees and recruitment and things like that. So now that we have the standardized first draft of bylaws, we want to work with you all to start incorporating that that element of BHAAC. We want your voices and the needs of this council to really shine through these bylaws. So these are just kind of, the legal jargon that we have to cover. We want to just make sure everybody's clear on roles and responsibilities and recruitment. But now we can start working together to really make this unique to this special council. And so that's why we're going to be asking for like mission and vision statements, which I know the report subcommittee has been working on. So we'll review that later this afternoon. And then, what we want to see from you all is, what do you think the roles and responsibilities of the chair and vice chair should be in addition to what we have? What do you think that the standardized recruitment process should look like with the basic elements that we've incorporated thus far? So really starting to work together to build out that uniqueness within these bylaws. But again, that standardized is just kind of making sure that we have statute covered and just basic organization and structure, just to be understood a little bit clearer. But again, we do want to tailor this the specific needs of this council, because you are unique. You are all unique individuals with so much lived experience, professional experience, and so much to bring to this council. And we really want that to shine through these bylaws. So that's why we want to start doing this feedback. We can do that information session to really start getting your input and making this your unique bylaw.
Okay. And the bylaws that were yes, and the bylaws that were voted in a year ago, are those the template that we're going to be using, looking at for the standardization?
So we'll be using the first draft template that I had sent out on July 2nd. That is also linked in the chat here. So we'll start using that one to start building out from now on. I did try and incorporate as much as your former bylaws into this set of bylaws as I could. So we'll just continue to start using this one here moving forward. And then when we also feel comfortable and we got to a point where we think that, you know, this is unique to this council, we feel comfortable, we'll bring it back to the council as a whole and do a formal vote to enact it into office. Okay.
And I just would like to make a suggestion, especially for a lot of the executives, safety net providers that have their businesses, that maybe we can open that up in like the bylaws folder or whatever, to where they can add the comments on their suggestions, because that is accessible in the Google Drives. So just to make everybody's life easier, however we want to do that, that was just something that I had thought about over this process, that if we could open that up, and then if they want to put their comments or whatever, or their feedback in the comment area in the Google Drives, then it's all right there.
Sure. The feedback form is linked in the bylaw Google Drive, but we can also allow this for you all to be commenters on it. So what I just didn't want to happen is, you know, a lot of people get in there and then just start editing things, and we didn't really track any of the changes, and we're like, wait, did that come from us? Who did that came from? You know, so wanted to kind of keep it a little simple in that sense, just to make sure, you know, not all the hands are in the pot at once. We're not tracking the changes as we go, but we can definitely open it up for comments, so you all can kind of go through and highlight, and we can see what comments are being made in which sections. And then you can also provide your feedback through the feedback form. And then I will reach out and schedule an informational session with you all for whoever is wanting to attend. Then we can kind of go and set some time to start talking through these in a little bit more detail and get that auditory and visual representation as well, as Raquel was mentioning.
Caitlin, do you mind if I jump in really quick? I just wanted to, interpreter 2, we've been trying to contact you through email. If you could please accept our channel invitation so that we can have you live for all participants to see you. Thank you. Sorry, Caitlin.
You're fine. Thank you for that, Megan. I appreciate it. All right. So how is everybody feeling about this so far? Is this pretty agreeable? Any comments, questions, concerns? Seeing some head nodding, not seeing any big red flags. So great. All right. Well, we are just cooking here today, everybody. So we do have some time left over, it looks like. So Megan, do you want to go ahead and speak?
Sure. Thanks, Caitlin. So BHAAC members, I know I have been telling you about the plan for regional engagement specialists focused on underserved communities. I think we've been talking about that since March. And so I am so incredibly excited to share that we have brought on 4 regional engagement specialists. They all live in the regions that they represent, and their focus is on engaging with our underserved communities in Colorado. So I'm so excited about this team. We are in the process of doing interviews for the manager of this team. So by our next BHAAC meeting, it will be a full team. And Seth, I see your hand is up. Before I introduce them, I'd like to answer your question.
Sorry, I've been having problems in and out of being kicked out and not being in here. So I just wanted to basically ask a question about the bylaws.
Oh, sure.
I know that we've already been through it. Sorry for the dragging this on. But when I was looking at the bylaws,
oh no.
Oh, so when I was looking at the bylaws, can you hear me?
Oh, I can't. Did I freeze? I think I froze. I'm so sorry.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry about that.
So basically, with the bylaws, it says in the bylaws that if you don't attend two BHAAC meetings, the chair or the vice chair will reach out to you to see what's going on. But at the same time, I don't think that should be a penalized issue, because like I missed the last two meetings because I was homeless and I didn't have access to internet, and I started a new job and stuff like that. So I didn't even have a physical address to like receive a check or anything. So it was just kind of like I'm housed now, but I think somewhere in the bylaws there should be a stipulation for hardship or something, so that in case somebody ends up being homeless on this council and they need, like, they miss a couple meetings because of it, then they should take in, the chair or the vice chair should take in consideration the fact that that's probably the reason why they might not have been able to attend those meetings, and that they'll give them like time to get their internet connected and their devices together.
So sorry, Seth. My internet just went unstable and just kicked me right out of the meeting. So I just jumped back on. Can you repeat the first part of your question? I just wanted to make sure that I'm understanding. I got the last part and I'm just picking up on some context, but my apologies. I'm no idea.
The first part was basically I missed two meetings, and the vice chair or chair would contact me and basically ask me what's going on, and possibly if there needs to be like a penalization of like being kicked off the council or whatever, that issues such as like me being homeless for 2 months or for two council meetings with no ability for internet and starting a new job and stuff like that. It's like I wasn't able to attend the meetings and I didn't have a physical street address. So I want to put something in the bylaws that basically says, the chair or vice chair, in consideration of hardship, would be able to extend that that for another like another meeting or two or something, until the person gets back on their feet or is housed again and has an address to even receive a check or something. Like,
absolutely. So I am just scrolling down really fast, wanted to make sure. So basically what we're trying to say here, if you miss 3 meetings in a row without any sort of communication, we can't get a hold of you, you're not joining or anything like that, and then the chair or vice chair reaches out to you and you still don't participate in 2 minutes after, that's what we're talking about, is just removing the council member. However, in this kind of case, if you were to speak to the chair or vice chair, letting them know, hey, I cannot get on for X, Y, and Z reason, that's okay. It basically is just so we have some sort of communication. We're just, it's for members who just kind of like ghost, who just like stop communicating altogether. There's no text, there's no email, there's no phone call. As long as you're in communication with the council, it shouldn't be an issue. We just wanted to kind of put that in there for members who just stop participating altogether, stop communications altogether. especially right now with us only meeting 6 times a year. That's almost a full year of council meetings missed. And so at that point, we would want to get somebody else on the council who would be engaged in participation. But as long as you communicate in some fashion that you're either, you know, having a hardship or schedules are unaligned or something like that, you know, I think that the chair and vice chair, whoever they may be, will be in complete, you know, agreement and acceptance with that. It's just more for, again, just kind of ghosting reasons. And so we can absolutely, you know, make some language around hardship and include that in there if this is the wish of the council. But that's just kind of the context when in that section that I think you're referring to. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Any other questions about bylaws, or can I pass back over to Megan? All right, take it away, Megan.
All right, thank you, Caitlin. So as I was mentioning, we have our regional engagement specialists who have joined BHA. They're currently in the onboarding process. I've invited them here today to introduce themselves, and they will share with you which regions they are representing. They will be very active with you all as they're doing engagement work and learning from your communities and where you represent in your communities. So you will see them in coming months start to interact more in these meetings, being able to hear from you all as well as share updates on the work that they're doing out in the community. And so with that, the first one I see on my screen is Rachel. Rachel, please come on and give a brief introduction of yourself.
Hi, everybody. I'm Rachel Simpson. Thrilled to be here. Very, very excited to meet you all and learn from you. I live and work in Grand Junction. Region D, or the Western Slope, is my region. A little bit about me. I was born and raised in Detroit. My mother is Serbian and my father is Yankton from the Great Sioux Nation. I have spent the last about 25 years in the Denver area. I worked with Denver Indian Health and Family Services and the Centers for American Indian and Alaska Native Health, as well as National Jewish and the Anschutz Medical Campus. So I'm really happy to be here to see you all. I also tend to work a lot with animals. You might see me over at Harmony Acres, playing with the horses and that kind of stuff. So excited to meet you. Hope to see you in person as well very soon. Take care. Thanks.
Thank you, Rachel. And next I see Calandra. Calandra, we cannot hear you. How
about now? Is it better? No?
Very quiet, but we can hear you.
Very quiet.
Oh, you're good. You're good.
Okay, it's good. Oh, sorry. I was having headphones issues this morning, so apologies. I was just happy to be here. It's been really interesting hearing everyone talk about the bylaws. I'm excited to get to know more about this whole process. Calandra Lindstedt, my pronouns are she, they. I will be in the Northeastern region, or Region A. A little bit about me. My family are all from way out in the northeast of Colorado. So my grandparents have been farming out in the Haxton, Holyoke area. If anybody knows that area, it's very, very small, very rural. And my folks are in Sterling, and that's where I grew up. I was last with CSU Extension and doing a similar role, a little bit different, but over on the Western Slope. And I'm so excited to be now back on the eastern side of the mountains, closer to family.
Thank you, Calandra. And next on my screen, I see Marius. Welcome, Marius.
Thanks, Megan. Hi, everybody. I'm Marius Nielsen. My pronouns are they, them, and I am over Region C, the southeast part of the state, including the San Luis Valley and Colorado Springs and Pueblo. I currently live in Colorado Springs. I've been in Colorado about 10 years. Grew up in a really rural area of Idaho and have then been working in public health and reproductive justice for the last 10 or 15 years of my career. And I'm really excited to be taking on a role at the BHA. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Marius. And next up, we have Brittany.
Hi, everyone. I'm Brittany Noble. I use she or they pronouns. Also really excited to be here. I am responsible for Region B, which is kind of the Denver metro area, and then all the way out to like Eagle and Grand counties on the west side, and then out to Lincoln County. I'm kind of like a swath through the middle of Colorado there. I have been working for CDHS previously within the Division of Child Welfare. In the past kind of 8 years of my career was within the field of child welfare. Really excited to be in a different field now, and excited to be working with y'all. And my kind of educational background is in social work. I was also a teacher for a short period of time in Michigan. That's where I'm from. And I've been in Colorado for about 10 years as well. Nice to meet everyone.
Thank you, Brittany. And thank you all for all the emojis that you're sharing. To welcome our regional engagement specialist. And so, Tasha, I saw your question about regions. And I wanted to offer some clarification around the regions. So the regions that we are using for this team are not the same as the BHAAC regions. And the reason that they're different is because the BHAAC regions are population focused. And so that would mean one person was covering half of the state. And so we wanted to be fair and equitable to the engagement specialist. Because these wonderful people are, they're remote positions within BHA. But the reason for that is they will be traveling throughout their regions and really engaged, really meeting people where they are to engage with our underserved communities and improve the way that we're able to reach all people in Colorado. And so the regions are divided to be a little bit more equitable in them being able to travel throughout. And so Rachel's region is the western slope area of the state. But then Brittany has the Denver area and the mountain resort communities. And so it kind of bridges into that area. Marius has the southeast region, and Calandra has the northeast region. But with that, regardless of what region you're in, you will see all of them. We're a very collaborative division and an incredibly collaborative team. So everyone will be supporting everyone's work. And I'm also really excited for you to meet the manager at our next meeting once we have them hired. Are there any questions about how this team will function, what work they will do, and how they will work with you all?
Yeah, can you tell us a little bit about how they'll be working with us kind of thing? Like, I mean, I know that we have the annual report every year, and we any extra help with, like, you know, feedback or representation from the regions that you're talking about and how it's helping the, you know, communities that need the services in those areas is great. But like, are you guys going to be with us at every BHAAC meeting for the council? Like, what do you expect from us, or what do you need from us as far as like time commitment or anything like that? Just a little bit more information would be great.
Yes, thank you. Those are great questions. So they will be joining the BHAAC meetings, and they will be here to, a big part of them being in our BHAAC meetings are to listen to you all, to get feedback from you all, to hear what's happening from your perspective. And then once they, keep in mind, they are only a week and a half into their roles. And so we are throwing a ton of information at them. They are all highly skilled engagement specialists. They're not brand new to this work. They're not brand new to their regions. So they've been very involved with their communities already. And so once they hit the ground running for BHA, during these meetings, they will be providing feedback, or not feedback, they will be providing updates to you all, kind of an overview of the work that they're doing in their communities. And like many of the people that come to the BHAAC meetings and share information, they'll be listening to your feedback on that as well. And so this is something that we're working on together to make BHA even more collaborative with all of our community partners. And just looking at some of the chats, just some clarifying questions. It looks like they were answered. El Paso County is in Marius's region, as well as Pueblo County. Yes, those are both served in Marius's region. I think I answered all of the questions, just making sure.
Just quickly, what happens if one of the region representatives leave or move from one region and go to a different region, or something happens like hardship or whatever, and they have to leave their area? Like, will they still be able to maintain their employment as the regional rep for that area, even if they don't live in that area?
Yeah, I think that's a great question too, Seth. So that would be really case by case situation. If they are, so I think an example would be just looking at my screen. If Brittany were to move to, Brittany serves the Denver and Mountain Resort community. If she were to move to Colorado Springs, but still able to serve and be in her region and her community that she's been assigned, there would be no issue with that. She would continue her work in her assigned region. Tasha, I see your physical hand, not just your button hand. And then Raquel, I see your hand up too. So Tasha and then Raquel.
So my question is I currently live in Larimer County, but all my providers are still in El Paso County. So how would that work with who I'm working with the regions? Especially with my behavioral health care, because my behavioral health care is in El Paso County still.
Tasha, knowing you the way I do, I have a feeling that you will work with all of them, regardless of where you live.
Okay.
And so, yes. What's that?
Throughout the whole entire state. Work with them throughout the whole entire state for the people of Colorado.
Yes, Tasha. I know that you will be very involved with all of them. And you're not limited. So just because any of our members, it doesn't matter where you live. If you have feedback to share regarding any of the regions, they're here to listen. Raquel.
Megan, congratulations. This was a brilliant idea. And I love that we have regional, because to be honest, I believe from the beginning, we were set up to fail on the amount of people they expected this to run with, and how this was all going to funnel in. And as somebody who lives on a county line, it feels good now that we don't have to wait for all of this to come to the surface here, and that we have somebody that we can actually reach out to for those of us who do regional leadership. And it feels like something might actually get accomplished in between the spaces of meetings by having these resources within our region. So I just want to say this feels like a really, really solid, good step forward for us as Colorado, and then like for us as council people that we would have. Like, I mean, I'm already like, great, Marius, let's talk about what's happening in this region, right? I already feel better, and I felt a great exhale. So this really makes me feel good because it feels supportive to us too, and then also to the state of Colorado and to you and to the BHA and everything that we, you know, the desired outcomes we're all trying to achieve, that equitable behavioral health, that doesn't happen with without administrative support. And for far too long, government agencies have failed to realize the amount of workload that people can actually do, right? And so, you know, for the recording, keep doing it, state of Colorado. You got to keep paying for administrative support because we can't run the state on skeleton crews. And we deserve good, solid administrative support in order to accomplish the goals that we have set forth. So I just want to say thank you and welcome. This is great.
Thank you for your support, Raquel. And thank you all, BHAAC members. I know as I started sharing out this plan with you all have been so supportive and encouraging from the beginning. And I'm just really excited that it's come to fruition, that we have this team on board. Cameron, I see your hand up.
Yeah, I just wanted to flag we have 2 questions in the chat, and actually they're getting answered, but also Karen Ron Lee is trying to get in as a panelist.
Oh, great. Okay. Sarah, are you able to add Dr. Runley? Any other questions on the regional engagement specialist?
Megan, I'm seeing a question in the Q&A about how to contact us, and I was just going to drop my email address in there. Maybe the other specialists could drop our email addresses in just for today, and then you guys can send out a more official.
Absolutely. Yes, Calandra, thank you for that. That's fantastic if you want to put that in there. And then I will send out communication to all BHAAC members, including the regional engagement specialist. So they will all be on the email. So you'll all have their contact info as well. And Seth, I see you have another question. Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. I believe that I am wondering with regards to the Denver metro area, how involved with behavioral health services is the BHA going to be towards micro communities and homeless communities that have like started to surface as actual places where people live, and they may not be getting the mental health or the substance use recovery services that they could get at a physical site. Like I work at the La Paz community right now, where, you know, the tiny homes and everything is, and we don't have like regular therapy or regular psychiatry or regular, you know, access to SUDS maintenance or anything like that. And I know that a lot of the like tiny homes are in Denver and stuff, but I know that like people from Grand Junction came to like look at our site, and like they might be planning something. Aurora might be planning something. So as these micro communities like manifest and become actual places where people live, is there going to be any effort to, from the BHA point of view, through contracting with providers to provide mental health services and substance use services in these areas? And would we talk with Brittany about doing something like that?
Thank you, Seth. So to back up a little bit, because I think this is the best way to answer your question. So the biggest part in developing this team and determining that we would have regional engagement specialists really came from looking at all of our underserved populations that we have in Colorado and realizing we can't dedicate, although it would be a perfect world, we can't dedicate one FTE. We just don't have enough for each underserved population. And BHA is small comparative to other agencies. And so this model allows just it to be specialized within the regions, but engaged with all underserved communities. So yes, we will be the regional engagement specialist, not just for Denver, but we know that there's unhoused in all communities throughout Colorado. And so all of them will be engaging with all underserved communities throughout our state within their regions. Any other questions?
Tasha?
Yes, I'm just wondering, are these four region, what are they again? Sorry. Collaborator, yeah.
Regional
Connectors.
engagement specialist.
Okay, regional engagement specialists. Are these going to be also involved with the region coalition or whatever that there was talks about when we did all those interviews?
Yes, another great question. So yes, Tasha, that is also part of their scope of work. And so when we look at Family Voice and how we're involved with that and developing Family Voice communication and coalitions down the road, they will be led by each of the regional engagement specialists. So they will be supporting all of that work moving forward and supporting all effort that helps the voices of the community. The whole purpose of this team, this is a whole team dedicated to ensuring that the voices of all of Colorado's communities are brought into the work that we do and are helping to shape and form everything that we're building.
There's a question in the chat as well, Megan, about percentage of lived experience.
Yeah, Tasha, can you tell me specifically are you talking about how they'll be engaging with people with lived experience, or are you talking specifically about each of them and their lived experience?
No, the creation of the coalitions, like with the lived experience. Like, I'm just wondering what the percentage is going to be. Is it going to be more safety net providers, or is it going to be more people of lived experience? That's also something that I've been questioning, like safety net providers, lived experience, and how that breaks down. But we can get into that a different day. But I'm just curious to know about the lived experience, persons of lived experience being engaged with all of this.
Yeah. Yes, Tasha, we absolutely value lived experience, and that is a priority for us, especially with all of this work. In order to engage with underserved communities, that has to be a key priority. And so we will be developing our plan for that over coming months, and we'll have an update for you all in September. And as I mentioned, this group is hitting the ground running. It feels like it's been more than a week and a half since they've joined us. I think it's been 10 days exactly today. And so just giving them a little bit more time to get established and then start working on that work. And yes, Tasha, before you raise your hand, we will include you in those discussions, and all of BHAAC. You will all be included in giving us feedback as we start to build out and move forward. That's a key part of your function as our council. Seth, I see your hand up.
Yeah, I understand that, like, as council members, we should have already posted links to our biographies and our pictures and our lived experience for being on the council and stuff, like on the website, I think, but of the BHA website or whatever. Are these regional representatives going to have their bios and a map of their region and their contact information, like an email or something, like on the website, so that anybody who's like looking for information on the website about, you know, services in their region or their area, and this is all new to them and they don't understand, especially in you know, like other languages like Spanish or something, like how are they going to be introduced to the people of Colorado, and not just the people in one specific region, but like has there been or will there be like a press release? Is there going to be announcements? Like, what's going to happen to get these people off the ground and running besides just being hired? Like, are they going to be able to self-promote their region or themselves in the region? Stuff like that.
Great question, Seth. And yes, I will add that. I think that's a fantastic call out to add that to our website. We do want to give them some time to onboard and to get organized within their regions. And then, yes, thank you for sharing all of that. I've taken notes. Any other questions?
Have one. I just seeing, you know, like what the next steps moving forward for these specialists are, and just kind of, you know, what to expect within the first couple of weeks and their engagement, things like that within the community.
Yeah, thank you, Caitlin. Yeah, so as I mentioned, they are onboarding. We are doing a full onboarding retreat for them at the end of the month. And then we will have, during the next BHAAC meeting in September, they will all come on and we'll have more of an update on what they are doing, where they're headed, what's being formed, what's happening already in their work, and what the plan is moving forward over coming months. So we'll be able to share a lot more as we develop and grow this team and have them all onboarded into their positions. And Seth, I see another question.
So just quickly, will they have the ability or the authority to create in their region like memorandums of understanding with either, you know, businesses or nonprofits in that region, as far as being able to like represent the BHA for that region, or will they need to like have permission from BHA commissioner before they make any like direct contacts with like people that might want to donate financially for services in their area, now that they have a behavioral health, you know, representative for their region who they can talk to about, hey, I want to help the so and so people in my neighborhood, you know, here's $10,000, can you accept it or not accept it? And then, so like that's what I mean, like not every region it has the resources for community development or partnerships, but some regions do. And sometimes like there's businesses and organizations that either want to donate time or donate services or donate, you know, stuff like that. Will they have the authority to like at least accept or deny those types of like MOUs or like anything like that?
That's a great question, Seth. So their role is engagement specialists. So so their purpose, their function is to engage with the communities, which includes bringing information back to BHA. And so you're bringing up some pretty specific examples. And so if that were to happen, then they would bring that information back to BHA leadership and communicate it. So they're really the open door. They get the communication going both directions. So they're out in the communities engaging. They're also part of their onboarding process is they are working really hard. There's a lot happening within BHA and a lot that happens across the divisions. And so the engagement specialists over the next coming weeks and months, and to be honest, over the next year, they will continue to learn all of the happenings within BHA and become very well versed on who does what's happening where, so that when they're out in the community, they can answer those questions to the community. But they also know when questions come up within the community, they can bring that back to the right people at BHA and keep that communication moving forward.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, thanks for the great questions, you all. I love the excitement about this team. I think all of my colleagues know how excited I am to have the support and to really be able to support the people of Colorado with engaging with the people that need the services the most. So this is super exciting, and I love your excitement and your questions. Thank you for the time check, Cameron. I know I believe our next agenda item starts at 10:10. Or is it now, Cameron?
It's 10:10.
Okay.
Commissioner Smith is here, and we don't have any questions.
Perfect. Okay, then I'll pass it to you to pass it to her.
I'm just looking for Commissioner Smith. Has she entered yet?
Okay, you can do
yes.
that. Yeah, we have Commissioner here. Yeah, I'm here.
Hi, Commissioner. I'm going to pass it over to you for your update. Doing well. How are you doing on this Thursday?
I'm doing really well on this Thursday. Can't complain. I am glad to be on here today. It's been a busy morning already. A couple of things that you probably already know about. Number one, we've launched all of our major safety net programs, from safety net to grievances to care coordination. And the most important one is the performance hub. And so we're very excited about launching those effective July 1. We've also been finalizing the contract on 988, which is our crisis line. You may know and have heard in the media that we have Solari who's coming in, and they will be our new vendor providing crisis services by phone. And I have been meeting with community providers this morning as well as yesterday morning, and just kind of getting people on board with where the BHA is going. So it's just been a wonderful time here at BHA, and I will tell you that my time has really been stretched. I see Megan on here. Megan, is there anything that I'm missing?
I think that covers it for high-level updates. I know there has been, as Commissioner Smith just mentioned, so much happening within BHA. It has been very busy, and we already feel like Commissioner Smith has been with us for much longer than the 90 days that she has been joining us. So much is happening. We're going in a really positive direction with that support and guidance.
Any questions that I can answer from you? And I appreciate the good mornings. I really do, because I've been here since 7 a.m. already and had a couple of meetings already. So I've been moving this morning.
It looks like Seth Watkins has a question maybe for you, Commissioner.
Okay.
Yes. Hi, Commissioner. This is my official first time meeting you, unfortunately, because I was unhoused for the last couple of meetings and stuff like that, dealing with some life term issues. But now I'm working at a micro community for people that are homeless, and we're trying to like see what type of in the future mental health and substance use services could be contracted for places that are micro communities or places where there's tiny homes or people living in safe outdoor spaces or tents, and just kind of like what types of partnerships would there be able to be considered down the line or in the future for such places?
Well, Seth, I think that there is room here to do that kind of work. We are trying to put together what our strategic plan is going to be going forward. And so I think there are absolutely opportunities to start bridging and being in some of the smaller communities to provide those services more intimately. So just stay tuned. Right now, what I'm trying to do is to get our organizational structure in place, make sure we have a good vision moving forward, and then you'll start seeing programs from that point on. But give me a little bit of time, Seth. I'm not gonna, that's about 6 months to a year away. I gotta be honest with you. There's just some internal things that I gotta get straight first.
That's perfectly fine. Thank you for responding and letting me know.
Thank you for the question.
Are there any other questions for Commissioner Smith while we have her here with us?
Just a comment, because I was in your 7:30 provider meeting this morning, which is why I couldn't join as a panelist, but I am so excited. And I think my fellow BHAAC members, I think there's a lot in store, a lot to come, and I think we'll see lots of things happening in the fall. So thanks again, Commissioner Smith, for your leadership. And it's been a long time coming as a BHAAC member, so we're excited to be with you.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate you attending the meeting at 7:30. Everybody was chipper and raring to go. So I appreciate that comment, and a lot of work to be done. Thank you so much. I'm looking at some of the chats, and thank you so much for your support, and a lot of work to be done. And I'm going to really need your support when I start turning things upside down. So that's when I'm really going to need that. Good morning, Commissioner, and thank you for your transparency. I appreciate it.
Hey, Commissioner, you got somebody that'll back you when you have to flip a couple tables. I'm known for that. I'm known for that around these parts, so I got your back.
Okay. Well, more to come, as Megan said, in September, more to come, more for me to kind of share with you. I see a hand raised by Miss Carolyn Hall. Yes, ma'am. Uh-oh.
Carolyn, you're on mute.
So I am already feeling the upheaval of all the state changes. And I've been well aware of a lot that's going on and how it's all blending in and what's up in the air and what's not. And so my thoughts is like, let's say the state tries something and it isn't productive, it isn't healthy for the state of Colorado. Are we going to be able to transition to something that's going to be more healthier? Or do we have to wait till contracts end? I'm just trying to understand. I just need a little clarity on that.
I don't think right now this is going to impact any of our contracts right now. I think what I'm referencing is how, as a BHA, how we're going to function. That's what you're going to hear more of, how we're going to function, and then ultimately it affects contracts, but we're not there yet. We're not there yet. It's kind of, Carolyn, if I may, kind of what I've been telling everybody, and I'll share with you what I told folks this morning that I think our corporate goals are. Number one is to build a strong foundation within the BHA. Policies, procedures, understanding contracts, all of those little idiosyncrasies that stabilizes an organization, to have that in place. The second thing is to make sure that I have the right staff doing the right work the right way, building a robust team, a robust staff of staff that could actually do the behavioral health work. Right now, my staff are doing a good job, but they are torn from here, there, everywhere, things are not clear in terms of what we want them to do. They can't do a good job if they don't know what is expected of them. So more clarity to come in terms of roles. The third one is the ability to be entrepreneur, kind of like a pioneer. Really looking at BHA as a business and how we get business done in terms of behavioral health. And then the fourth one is anything that we create that it has a level of sustainability. I feel many times, Carolyn, like this is a brand new organization, and it's not. It's been 18 months in existence, but it feels brand new. And so, you know, how do we put structures and policies in place to sustain the work that is happening? Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you very much.
So that's the kind of stuff I'm focusing on right now.
And I love that because we got to start from home, right? So
that's
when we
right.
start
There
here,
you go. We got to start from home. That's right. You can't be all things to people and your own house isn't in order. And that's the problem that we're in right now. Our house is not in order.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Smith. Thank you for the fantastic update and overview of where BHA is at and being here to answer questions. I see that we are at 10.
Thank you.
Thank you. I see that we are at 10:17. So Cameron, I will pass it back over to you.
We are ready for a break. I think is it okay if we still have a full 15-minute break? I think we had a jam-packed meeting or morning this morning. So that means we'll come back at, what is that, around 10:33? Does that sound good to everyone?
That's perfect. Thank you, Cameron.
Thanks. All right, welcome back, everyone, from your break. Hopefully you're able to stretch your legs, get water, coffee, all that good stuff. We are now transitioning over to our BHAAC Annual Report Subcommittee update. Yay, very exciting. I'm actually not sure who I'm passing this off to. Tasha, is this you or?
So I helped create the slide deck for the report subcommittee. So I would love for all the members to kind of speak to it, but we can kind of just, you know, move through the slides, and I would love all the report subcommittee members to possibly come off mute and introduce themselves, and then we can kind of go through the step-by-step process of what this report subcommittee has been doing, and let you all know, you know, the process that's been created, the information that's already kind of been laid out, and then we have a whole section dedicated to council feedback. So we'll just kind of start moving from there. So yay, report subcommittee. They have been doing excellent work, and I'm just so proud of all of these members, and they're just such dedicated members of this council, and I think that this report is going to be better than ever, and I'm just looking forward to continuing to build these relations and these processes. So, you know, each report every year, I think it's just going to get better and better from here on out. So thank you all for your participation so far. All right, so here is the agenda that we have right now. Introductions, our process, our council feedback requests, and then upcoming topics and conversations that we plan to address between now and the special meeting session in August. So this is the time for introductions from our report subcommittee. If you all can come off mute and introduce yourselves.
All right, I'll kick us off. This is Tasha Conker here. How am I supposed to introduce myself? I don't know. This is Tasha Conker. I'm a part of the subcommittee, the report committee, with this amazing team that we've been working really hard with in wanting to keep things transparent with the whole entire council. So you guys can watch the videos in the report folder, and so you know exactly what we're doing. So pass it off to popcorn to Raquel.
Good morning, everyone. Raquel Garcia. It has been such a different experience. As you know, I was very vocal about my experience last year in participating in this committee. It's another reason why I wanted to be a part of this second committee, was to see the transformation, and it is very different, a lot more inclusive. It is a lot more collaborative. We have great support with Caitlin, like literally is patient with us as we break it down piece by piece. It is authentic, so we have not had to mute ourselves, but we've also been really promising in the fact that we get to show some progress. I think I led with that earlier today, right? About it feels good that we're finally moving forward. And so we wanted to be real about some things that we struggled with a little bit, but we also really paint this really good partnership. I feel like we are finally getting some communication support with the BHA, and so we get to show some strengths and building moving forward. So I'm really inspired by the new report and feel like we're being supported well through that. So thank you. And popcorn to Catherine.
Good morning, I'm Catherine Washington. Just like my other two subcommittee partners, if you will, I agree with everything. And yes, I do believe that we're being heard more, and we're moving in a very proactive way, if you will. So I love the accountability, and I love the fact that our voices are really like finally starting to actually, be amplified so that all of us can have this way of, participating. And so I feel very honored to be on a subcommittee with all these wonderful people. And I'm just hoping that you guys can also see the progress as we are. So thanks so much. And I'll send it to Maria.
I believe Maria had to jump early today. I remember them mentioning something at our subcommittee meeting last week. So just wanted to let you know that Maria is also on this subcommittee, and she's been doing wonderful work and really helping us with regards to the perspective of rural communities and that rural engagement. So Maria has brought a lot to the subcommittee and to the table as a whole. All right, so just a little bit about the subcommittee process that we have been implementing as we've been moving along this journey. So beginning on June 6th, the subcommittee has been meeting bi-weekly on Thursdays from 2 to 3 p.m. As I had mentioned previously, we have had some ad hoc meetings added to our schedule. So we seem to be meeting a little bit more consecutively than every other week, which, I'm happy to do. And I just really want to give you all that space to create the report that you need to create and have your voices heard. So really happy that these members are so dedicated and are willing to meet more than just the standard time that we had set aside previously. So that just really shows the commitment that these members have to this council. So using an annual report template link that we have linked in the agenda, all of the links for this report subcommittee are in the agenda, and we can go ahead and start linking them again. I'm trying to talk into, so I'm going to talk first and then I'll start linking afterwards. But they are in the agenda for your review. So we've been using an annual report template just to kind of organize everybody's thoughts and comments and questions and things of that nature. So it's divided into a couple of different sections. The first being, the introduction of BHA or BHAAC, excuse me, what this council's mission statement is, what the vision statement is, some of the achievements between 2023 and 2024. The second section is the statutorily required section. So that's broken down into our 4 different sections. Highlighted right now is going to be the system-wide grievance system, the performance monitoring system, and one other one. Now I just blanked off the top of my head, excuse me. The behavioral health safety net system, that one. So, and then the last section is going to be the additional recommendations, and this is where the unique voices of each council member is really going to shine. That's where we want to know, your personal and professional experiences and how they fit into the larger behavioral health system as a whole. We also are going to talk about a little bit of the Bonta regional direct feedback process during this time. And basically, once that is up and running, how you all want to have these conversations, whether it be, check-ins during meetings or, one-pager quarterly. Basically, just wanted to hear from you on how you all want to start receiving that feedback and close that feedback. So we've completed section 1 that we'll be presenting today, and we're starting to work through section 2 together. And each member during our meetings, they brought their own external research and findings to the meetings. So we have these great discussions and we really get multiple points of views. And we're trying to incorporate that within the working doc that is also linked in the agenda that we had mentioned here. So what we're really trying to do is, you know, continue to work through this, bring this presentation to you all today, get your feedback, incorporate that feedback, and then at the special sessions meeting in August, review, you know, how we've incorporated your feedback, the finalized sections of 1, 2, and 3, and then, you know, we'll try and move to take a vote on the report at that time, since we'll have the established chair and vice chair to just give their formalized signatures, and everybody will have a chance to review the report, and then it will be due to BHA September 1st, which is hard to believe that it's already so close. Summer is just flying by. So, wanted to start moving on to the council feedback request here. So in working with this report subcommittee, we've spent a lot of time dedicated to the creation of the mission and the vision statement of BHAAC. So what we've come up with as the subcommittee as a whole is this mission statement here. And we wanted to get your all's feedback and input on this. We want to make sure that the language is clear, that it's transparent, that it addresses the challenges and needs that we need it to address, and basically that it's just understandable for everybody. We really want this council to be inclusive, and so if this is in a language that is inclusive or understanding, we want to, you know, take it back to the drawing board and you know, come up with a language that is understandable for anybody, any person who might read it. So right now we have the mission of the Behavioral Health Administrative Advisory Council is to advise and guide the BHA in developing a comprehensive, cohesive, and accessible behavioral health system across Colorado. We exist to identify gaps, recommend improvements, and support policies that promote well-being for all people of Colorado. By co-creating and leveraging community-driven data and insights, we strive to enhance accountability, transparency, and effectiveness in delivering behavioral health services. So kind of wanted to pause here, see if there's any feedback for that.
Yeah, I'm just kind of like thinking of like from the perspective of like inequality and just kind of like DEI language, like in the mission statement, as follower is diversity, equity, inclusion, like to also maybe put in there something like reduce racial stigma or gender bias or homophobia, transphobia. I mean, I know there's a lot of like stuff that gets put in a bunch of mission statements that are, you know, about ending discrimination and about certain communities, but in the annual report, especially in the mission statement, I think it would be very important for something along those lines or along those words to be added in the mission statement if it's going to be the first thing that people see, because then they think of something of like, oh, I'm a part of that community, or oh, they really do think about me, or, you know, I think there needs to be something stronger in there regarding the disparities.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. Anybody else or any of the council members or subcommittee members would like to speak to this?
No, I appreciate that, Seth. I was thinking when I was reading it that it had missed a lack of equity and inclusion conversations as well. But so I appreciate your input. It's always nice, honestly, to hear from other people because sometimes, you know, there's only 4 of us in there, so we really value your input. We really want this to be more inclusive than it felt very, very siloed last year. I see you, Jamie.
Thank you. Thanks for all the work on this. I know it's never easy to create a mission statement. But I'm curious as to, in the first section there, that talks about the mission is to advise and guide the Behavioral Health Administration. I'm just curious as to the word guide. What does that mean to you all? And maybe you can explain it a little more to help me gain a little clarity around that.
Would a member of the subcommittee like to speak to that?
I lost what I was going to say. And I just want to tell Jamie, thank you for bringing that up, because that has been one of our things, is the definition on the wordings, because the wordings are the loopholes. So we need to know what it is across the board so everybody knows. So thank you for bringing that up. I don't know how else to answer that. So yeah, because what it means to one person, like the BHA, could mean something completely different to us. And that's where we get the loopholes and the confusion. And that's where we didn't want that to happen. So I appreciate your input on that.
I think the clarity for guide and what guide means has to come from the BHA, if that's something that they, that is a thing. I don't think we get to define what guide is. I think that has to come, right, Jamie? I'm thinking that, you want me to give a definition of guide. You probably don't want me, and my definition of guide might be a little bit invasive. So maybe what guiding is and what parameters around what we are has to come from statute and from the BHA. That's my take on it.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And I think that's exactly right on, because just like you, when I think of guide, it might be different than how others are thinking of guide. And to me, it means really kind of being out in front and leading the way and those types of things. So yeah, I appreciate that. And hopefully we'll get some clarity around that.
Absolutely.
I kind of think of something like advise and support, or something that's not so as direct as guide, like something that, we do support the behavioral health, but even support is a word that's triggered of like, do we financially support them, or do we like support them in like our reactions and our questions? But something about the word guide is definitely different for everybody and different for each person.
Carolyn?
Yes, I have an idea. What if we put like to advise and offer feedback because that's exactly what we do. That is exactly what we do.
I like that.
What if it was something about advise and offer community-based feedback? Because I think we all represent different communities that participate in the council, and we're all trying to basically represent the communities that we're a part of and that we come from. And the word community, I still think there needs to be some DEI language in there, but the word community feedback is like it's basically saying it's coming from the places that we represent, or the people that we represent, or why we were chosen to represent whoever we were chosen, because it comes back from the community. I don't know if other people feel that way, but I do like the word feedback better than I do guide.
Catherine?
Yeah, so I think the intention was just to, first, thank you, Jamie, Seth, Carolyn, everyone who's spoken on this, Raquel. I think that this should be a working document, and it wasn't intended just to say, guide, and it has to be our way, but I would like to include all of the suggestions, and maybe, kind of, we can work with it a little bit more, because I agree with a lot of the suggestions. But, I do have to agree also with Raquel, because, we do have to get the guidance from someone else, like the BHA, BHAAC, so we can understand exactly what we need to do in order to make this all better for everyone. So I just want to say thank you, everybody, for those suggestions and just for the questions in general.
Awesome. I'm taking great notes here. All right. Tasha.
I just want to put in there, like, I had brought, when I had a one-on-one meeting with the policy team, because of the word standardized, what that means to the BHA. So Ryan, since you're
You
our
stay there.
your legislator guy, could you help us like partner or co-create or whatever to give us some sort of meaning on what these words are that we're needing to be like defined, so there is no room for misinterpretation?
So, I mean, definitely, Brian, feel free to speak to those too. So the word guide was taken specifically from your all's recommendations from the notes that had been uploaded. So we don't actually, I think, have like a defined definition of guide. I know statutorily, this is an advisory council. So, you know, you do advise, you do provide us that feedback and that level of support. But I don't know that we have a technical, you know, definition of the word guide. And I think that, you know, I think that we could come up with a lot more of a transparent language around that, and happy to continue to take this back to the drawing board and work with you all to get to that point. And then Ryan, do you have anything else to add?
Caitlin, you nailed it. I was going to say a very similar thing where it's like, I'm actually comfortable with the word guide. It feels like this is part of a relationship building between BHAAC and BHA as well with, hey, how do we make sure that we are supporting BHAAC and moving this forward and actually utilizing all of our advisory councils to get the system to where it needs to go by co-creation and leveraging community-driven data and insights. Like that is through recommendations, that is through the providing the feedback, that is through guiding what the people of Colorado actually need. So I used to refer, when I was actually sitting in my home office, like my 9x9 office room, there's no reason that Ryan Templeton should be making big sweeping policy decisions without the input from community, right? So like that is, to me, advising and guiding from councils just like this. So I see this as super powerful language that you all need to create to kind of support us in that way of how do we get to that spot of like truly what BHAAC was there for, and advising through recommendation and utilizing experience. And I think it's very powerful with the community engagement specialist coming on board is how do we get that full state view of what is going well and what is going not so well, to make sure that we are making those positive changes. So thank you for that. I also have to jump off to another meeting here. So I really appreciate advisory councils and the opportunity that I get to hear from all of you and learn from all of you as well. So thank you for being engaged and active in this council.
Thank you, Ryan. All right. So that was awesome feedback. Let's go ahead and keep moving forward and we can circle back around. All right. Oh, I jumped the gun over here. All right. So now we're on to the vision statement. So in creating this vision statement, we really wanted to focus on, you know, some of the questions around specifically, you know, the future goals and planned actions to reach these goals. We wanted to answer some questions such as what matters most to this council, what problems that we're trying to solve and for whom are we trying to inspire change. So the subcommittee came up with this vision statement. Our vision is to lead Colorado towards a future where every individual has access to quality behavioral health services that are inclusive, equitable, and culturally competent. We aim to eliminate barriers We aim to eliminate barriers to care by innovating, educating, and advocating for policies that not only meet current needs, but also preemptively address emerging challenges. Through our efforts, we aspire systematic change that uplifts all communities with an emphasis on historically marginalized and disadvantaged communities, ensuring that behavioral health is recognized as a crucial element of whole person care. So any thoughts, comments, questions, concerns around this?
Yeah, just quickly, I always like to play devil's advocate in situations like this, but um, the vision statement is great. I think it has all the word and the language that the subcommittee did a great job as far as, talking about the future of leading behavioral health in Colorado. I would possibly want to see something about SUDS treatment and stuff as well, since the BHA is not just a mental health agency, but also is providing substance use and abuse services and contracts and stuff like that. But also, I think of certain political people that might have a problem with anything that looks like DEI. Like I just the language of DEI, of course, in our state legislature and in our state government probably wouldn't matter because, everything and everyone is progressively democratic. But, there is a part of our state in rural, Colorado that need their voices heard too. And they may not feel like this mission or this vision statement includes them because they're not, of a community that is underserved or has bias or, inequity or stuff like that. So I would just caution of like thinking from taking a point or thinking from the point of view of some of those people that live on the western slope or the south part of the state or eastern plains or whatever, and just be like, okay, some Republicans attack DEI often, calling people that get hired DEI hires and stuff like that. And I don't think that happens much in Colorado, but even one of our Congress women said that the Biden press secretary was hired as a DEI hire, and they use it as a derogatory term. So I'm thinking of like, how can we make it inclusive to those that also don't believe in equity, inclusion, and everything? Because we still have to provide them services too.
Tasha, do you want to answer that?
My thoughts on that for the wording with community is for all people of Colorado. So that covers every part of it for all the people of Colorado, not just certain demographics, marginalization, like all is inclusive, like all of the people.
Mm-hmm.
So
and I know that we had paid special attention to that in that wording of uplifts all communities.
Yes.
Do you think that your concern, Seth, is with that subparagraph or that subsection saying with an emphasis on historically marginalized and disadvantaged communities? Is that kind of where your concern is coming in?
The rule.
It's not so much coming in there, it's just the vision statement altogether. Like, I mean, okay, Raquel can help with that, definitely. I think that would be great if Raquel could help with the wording and help be a part of that. I just like to play devil's advocate. I just like to play devil's advocate and be like, there might be half the state that doesn't agree with this vision statement because of, their beliefs on DEI or whatever. I think Tasha, between you and everybody on the panel and Raquel and Catherine, you all can like easily come up with something that I totally would find very acceptable and promising for anybody that even read the vision statement, because it is a big vision statement. And I might want to see some sort of timeline in the vision statement of like in the next 3 years or in the next 5 years or in the next year and a half or just different times of like give the vision a goal, like like a realistic goal of when it could be reached or at least assessed to see how good it's doing. That's it.
Catherine.
Yeah, so I appreciate the feedback. Also to be like be devil's advocate. So typically, even if we do say all, right, we still don't call a thing a thing. So we're not still looking at marginalized communities or disadvantaged communities. We could take marginalized out if we like, but I think disadvantage still has to focus on the people who are being overlooked. We've been using all forever and like politics and everything else, and yet and still there's still communities are still being overlooked. So that was the purpose of me kind of putting it like that. Um, but I do agree that this is something that we should, again, this is a working document that all of us should participate in just to make sure that we get a well-rounded like point of view. And so I definitely agree with you, Seth. And also that a timeline, what if we don't make that timeline? Then they're going to hold us accountable.
Yep.
They're going to say, oh, you didn't do it. And then that's kind of, we're going to run back into the same thing that we did a couple of years ago. So I didn't put a timeline in it at this moment, but we can also consider that as well. I just want to make sure that we're not being held to such strict standards that we're not able to, there's no flexibility. So that was the only reason why we kind of, drafted it like this, but I am more than open to having some more feedback from everybody if you're willing.
And
Thank you.
just to point out, the vision statement is supposed to be just kind of a very broad, general, this is our overarching goals. And the section 3, when we get down into the actual recommendations and the council voices, that's where we can start being really specific with setting goals and timelines and things like that. And then we can work to create that narrative of, if we haven't met like this goal by this point, this is what we're going to do to try and meet that goal again in the future. So we can start getting really specific with like the goals and the timeline settings, stuff like that further down in the report. But for just the mission and vision, those are just kind of going to be broad, overarching goals and statements. So it wouldn't, we can definitely look into the addition of the timelines and things like that, but just wanted to kind of reiterate what we're looking for in like an actual vision statement versus the exact timelines and goals and things of that nature. Tasha?
I would like to say, and I just thought of this, instead of the EDI, we need to include something in there, and this is just my opinion, and you guys can tell me if you agree with me, about the injustices. So the Jedi work. So having it be Jedi, because there is a lot of injustices that are going on throughout the state when it comes to this care. And that's what we want: justice, equality, equity, diversity, inclusion, all the way around, because you got to have the justice with all of that. It's the accountability part is how I feel, I guess. I don't know.
I would totally agree with that, Tasha. And like I just said, something in the vision statement about, I totally, like Catherine, don't like the word all. I mean, it just lumps people in compartments and everything. I might, say something like the people of Colorado, or, people that access services from the community of Colorado, or something like that. But I also still want to see something that will, in the vision statement, talk to those that don't believe in any sort of equity. And I think, you guys could easily find the right verbiage to like include those conservative members of Colorado that have no time in DEI because, they're being discriminated against because they're white heterosexual people. So it's like, I just want that to, in the vision statement, to be caught somehow so that it does say all, but it doesn't use the word all.
Sure. That makes sense. Thank you, Seth. All right. So I wanted to go over some of the accomplishments that the subcommittee has listed for between 2023 and 2024, and then ask for feedback to see if there are any additional comments that you would like to make. If you think that we've overlooked some of the accomplishments that we would like included in this report, if we want to change any of the wording that's currently being used in the working document. So the first accomplishment that they had listed is the relationship development between BHA and the council. So they stated that we have strengthened the communication channels between BHA and BHAAC, ensuring regular updates and feedback loops that enhance policymaking and implementation. However, we would encourage more inclusive and equitable conversations during the rulemaking process and request BHA to demonstrate how the council's recommendations are being incorporated and implemented into the larger behavioral health system as a whole.
Who's the quote from?
This is from all the council members. So we've worked to create this together. So it's not any one person's direct quote.
So I would say something along the lines of council members have said, is I think you need to understand, like, well, who quoted this? Who like, this is great. Who in the BHAAC said this quote? Or like, did one specific council member create this quote? Or is it like multiple council members or stuff like that? I just think when you quote someone, or quote some entity or identity, you have to say who you're getting the quote from. That's just standard.
So the quotation marks is just what we have in the report. That's where the quotes are coming from. Those quotes will not be added to the report. So it's not going to be an actual quote. So just ignore the quotation marks. My apologies. It's just what we have written in there, and that's why I was quoting the template or the working doc. So it's not none of this is going to be direct quotes from anybody. It's just going to be statements.
I also don't like the word loops. It's like we're creating something with a loophole that can be easily cheated against or get through something somehow because you're a part of like the BHAAC, or you're like a part of like some sort of council, or you're a part like loops of what? Like I mean, like, updates and feedback opportunities that enhance policy making and implementation. That's what I think would be better there, is like feedback opportunities that enhance policy making and implementation. The loops just doesn't work.
Jamie?
I agree with you, Seth. I think the word loops is, it kind of leaves a lot out there. So I think that was a really great comment. My comment was around, I love this whole statement. I think it's really fantastic. But I do wonder, and I don't have a suggestion right now, but I do wonder where we say more inclusive and equitable conversation during the rulemaking process. Is it just the rulemaking process that we're wanting more inclusive and equitable conversation around? Or is it other areas as well? So I don't want to just limit it to rulemaking.
Sorry, okay. I think it's more in addition to, because in speaking with the subcommittee, they were saying that, during these meetings, they just get a lot of information just kind of thrown at them. They don't really feel part of the earlier processes such as the rulemaking process. And so they just feel like, we're just kind of showing, this is what we're doing, this is how it is, give us feedback on this. But what they were trying to say here is to start implementing and including you all in those earlier conversations during that rulemaking process. So I think it's more in addition to, as opposed to just that, just the rulemaking process. Because obviously these whole conversations, we want that transparency, that inclusivity, but it's just that additional recommendation to do it earlier as well. And I think that that's what we're trying to say here. But I do think that it could be clearer, saying that in addition to the conversations that we're having involve us earlier as well.
So can that mean like having input or feedback or advising before major decisions are made at a BHAAC meeting? Kind of like, if you guys want us to support or vote on something, we get it in advance to look over it like you guys do with the email, so that we can say yay or nay or whatever we feel, or ask more questions. And because like I think what I'm experiencing when I hear about these statements and stuff like that is we do get thrown a lot of stuff at us, you know, at a time during one of these council meetings, and we really don't get time to like marinate into the what we're talking about or what we're trying to vote on and stuff like that. I know there's deadlines and whatnot, but like I know we all have subcommittees that we try to be a part of, and that's great. And you know, I've been trying to be a part of subcommittees when I can, but it's like we need time to be given, you know, whether it be a council meeting that we like, we're going to discuss this at the next meeting, so you have 2 months to like research and do it and like look into it, but this is what we'd like to do, but this is time sensitive, so we might need your feedback by a poll of like, you know, of some sort. Because I think that's where the communication breaks down, is where we don't have time to like marinate and like think about things, or
right.
ask people in our communities what they think about things. I mean,
and I think that's, you know, kind of something that we're alluding and to try and address here as well. I think when appropriate, absolutely, we can start having these conversations earlier, start including you all earlier and giving you that time to, you know, marinate and think about things, and when appropriate, you know, receive that feedback from you all. So I think that that's something, you know, especially with the restructure that the commissioner was talking about, and those defined policies and procedures that we're working to implement throughout BHA as a whole. I think that that is something we could absolutely look to include, and, you know, begin these conversations early and appropriate, and see that feedback. So I think that's definitely something that we're aware that you all need, and something that we're wanting to implement as well. So again, I think it's going to take a little bit of time in those conversations, both internally and with this council, and externally with the communities as well. But I think that that is something that, you know, we're hearing you all need, and I think that we want to support as well.
I think I would also mention something about like, as far as accomplishments, how having a director of the BHA, a new director that wasn't filling in for someone else, but like a new director since coming on has started these communication changes and is working to reorganize the BHA, or just something about the new commissioner there. About
absolutely, that's a great recommendation.
It's a huge accomplishment now that we have the commissioner now, and you know, she's talking about doing all these things after or in September. I mean, I don't know what she's talking about doing, but like, you know, talking about restructuring and policies and procedures and whatnot. I think it would be great to have like in in a vision of like what's going to change in the future, have her list some of those changes that's going to internalize in the BHA, of like, oh, we're going to have like staff policies around hiring for lunch, or we're going to have like, I mean, just like a little vision from her about like in the annual report somewhere where it says the BHA is going to attempt to go this way. but I think we owe her a lot of credit
See
too.
if that's something within her bandwidth right now. I know that she will include that in the BHA annual report that we submit to Congress in October. But we can see about possibly having her include something here as well. But I do think, regardless if we have her vision and statement within this, adding that that one accomplishment that we do have a strong, solid leader now that we can communicate with effectively, and we're looking forward to continuing to build that relationship. So I think that's a great recommendation. Bronley, I've seen that you've had your hand up.
Thank you. Yes, I just wanted to offer some wording here in that, however, and just for consideration, however, we would encourage more inclusive, and then I've heard timely, bidirectional, impactful, proactive, strategic, meaning that long-term planning, vision, right? And the roadmap. So any of those, I think equitable conversations, it's hard to know what that means. So I think in our effort to be more specific about what we mean, I just wanted to offer a few of those. But the timeliness, and I think the bidirectionality of that conversation, not just to take it all in quickly like a fire hose and then tell us okay or not okay. I think in the proactive and thoughtful nature of planning in these conversations on all the things, as Jamie mentioned, it's not just the rules, it's everything, the strategy, the structure, the process, all of it.
Thank you for that feedback. All right, gonna keep us moving. All right, another accomplishment that this subcommittee has listed is cross-collaboration. So again, not a quote, just a statement, ignore the quotes, my apologies. So the council is composed of a well-rounded group of members consisting of persons with lived experience, safety net providers, nonprofits, and community-based activists. Since 2023, there has been an increase in collaborative efforts with other state agencies to facilitate a multidisciplinary approach to addressing behavioral health crises, especially during public health emergencies. Additionally, there has been an increase in collaborative efforts among BHA councils with the creation of council liaisons. However, the council is requesting collaboration with the BHA to clearly define the roles and responsibility of the council liaisons and demonstrate how cross-agency collaborations are being implemented into the larger behavioral health system. Thoughts on this one? So.
Yeah, I don't think of us when I think of us, I don't think of us as a well-rounded group. I mean, that basically says we're all a little extra, carrying a little extra pounds or something of members. So we're a well-rounded group of members. I think that's a little weird. And then I like the lived with experience safety net providers, nonprofits, and community-based activists. I think that's great. 2023, there's been an increase in collaborative efforts with other state agencies to facilitate a has there really been a collaborative effort, or have we just been kind of thrown into, or put into, forced into state collaboratives because we had a different state commissioner or a different department making us go a certain direction to collaborate with certain other state entities? It's like I would want to see something in there that basically said, you know, since 2023, there has been an increase in collaborative efforts with other state agencies on thanks to, you know, former commissioner so-and-so or new commissioner so-and-so, because I think it needs to be put in there that, you know, Michelle Barnes did lead us for like 8 or 9 months, and it's like the state collaborative issues came between the BHA forming these family councils, making these peer councils and the Behavioral Health Administration all together, and then kind of like making us like have to join rules and regulations of Colorado's standardization of committees and councils, and how we have to be just like every other council as far as, you know, everything that they do as far as like requirements for councils. So it's like, yeah, I just want to see, has that really happened, and like who we giving credit for that, or who we putting in the spotlight about that. Because I know that, like, for me, I haven't had the sense that and I've only been gone for like 2 meetings, but I haven't had the sense that we've actually done any, basically, or very much of the working with the other state agencies. I haven't been to any other councils meetings or seen them come to our meeting or anything like that.
Yeah, I would second Seth, your comments. Can somebody flip back to the collaboration slide? Because this one is super aspirational and not specific, right? And maybe people at the BHA have been working across agencies, but I'll like give an example. Like I had volunteered to be a liaison for children, youth, and families, and I never got connected actually to the other council that I was supposed to. And I asked like 3 or 4 times, and that's all within the BHA. So I think we need to be really specific about what the advisory council experience of cross collaboration has been and where we aspire to be, right? Because I'd love to have, it would be great to have cross agency collaboration, and be really specific, Seth, to your point about who we are, because we're an amazing representation, but we are not well-rounded in representation, and making sure we call out some of the key folks and what you would need to be more fully representative.
Absolutely. I think that, and my apologies that you were never connected with the people that you were supposed to be connected with. And that's something that we're working to address. And, you know, moving forward, especially with the definition of creating these council liaisons and what those roles and responsibilities are, that will be something that will be addressed, and that communication channel will be occurring moving forward. I definitely understand about the agency collaboration and, you know, kind of almost that forced element of collaboration. So I think it would be really beneficial if we could get some feedback from you all on, you know, how you would like to have this collaboration moving forward, what you would like to see specifically. I think that would be really helpful, so we can include that here. And then, sorry, I'm like trying to read and talk at the same time to make sure. And then, you know, I think that some of the things that we were thinking about with that cross-agency collaboration is, you know, having different members coming to speak with this council to inform you about, you know, the grievance system process and things of that nature. But if there's other state agencies that you would like that more collaborative nature with, again, those specific recommendations, if you could get that to us, I'm happy to send out a form, or if you guys wanted to send out an email, or if you want to join in one of these report subcommittee meetings to start giving some feedback as well, that would be really, really beneficial. And I can send the link to the report subcommittee for you all to start joining as well. So I know we have a lot of hands raised right now. We are about 15 minutes out, and we do have a lot more things to cover. So I'm going to give you all that space to speak if you want to speak really fast, but please just be mindful of the time. So Tasha?
I was going to say, when I was reading through the bill dossier, it did say in there that with the BHA and CDHS, there was a lot of collaboration, like wording in the bill dossier. So I did notice that, and I just want to point that out. Like, so to support what everybody else is saying with that. So we need more collaboration.
Okay, Jamie?
Yep, ditto. Also want to just piggyback on Ron Lee and Seth's comments about that, specifically that one statement in there. If someone were to ask me, I don't know that I could list the collaborative efforts that facilitate a multidisciplinary approach. So if that is happening, that probably should come back here so that we're aware of it before we put it in our report.
Thank you for that. And Seth?
Yeah, I'd basically just say, like, for example, how we had the representatives come in and introduce themselves, and they're going to like come in October and kind of talk to us a little bit about what they're doing and how they're doing it, and just kind of giving us a small report or whatever. I think having people like from other agencies like the justice system and, you know, nonprofits or homeless services or other departments like the head of the mayor's homeless department or whatever. I think just giving them an invitation with like 5 minutes to speak on something and 5 minutes to answer questions like down the road as part of the agenda would be very helpful, so that myself as a council meeting or council member who doesn't know necessarily the justice system in Denver or Aurora or whatever, can have those like that knowledge in the future. So just bringing in some speakers.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Sorry, I'm just trying to write down some quick notes. All right. So for the sake of time, we're going to move forward. So we wanted to highlight here the creation of our subcommittees and working groups. So several subcommittees and working groups were formed to focus on specific areas such as substance abuse, mental health and correctional facilities, and access to behavioral health services in urban, rural, and frontier communities. Working groups like the Annual Report Subcommittee were created to facilitate the council in producing deliverables such as the 2024 Annual Report. The council would like to collaborate with BHA to conduct an audit to ensure the relevancy and effectiveness of current subcommittees and working groups. Additionally, the council recommends the creation of an annual calendar to facilitate council organization and writing. So with the thoughts of an annual calendar, you know, at the beginning of each year, kind of coming up with like that game plan for the year, you know, seeing that on September, the report's due. So when do we want to start preparations on? You know, kind of maybe lining up some, again, state agencies to come in and speak during certain months. So definitely, I think that that creation of an annual calendar could help with the organization of this council, just so you kind of know at a big highlighted level what's kind of coming down the road, and then we can adjust as needed. But, you know, just to help with that organization and that transparency earlier in these conversations as well. So Seth, I see that you have your hand raised.
No, just former hand.
Oh, okay. All right. And then we were just talking about, you know, the audit of the subcommittees and things that we have, because I know what I've heard, I'm again super new into this role, so I haven't been a part of all these subcommittees or these conversations, but it sounds like some subcommittees were created, but then haven't met in extended periods of time. So, you know, doing the audit to either revitalize those subcommittees if that's something that the council needs and wishes to do, or maybe, you know, redirect our time and our resources to something else that might have changed between that time. So that's kind of where the audit aspect came in through, and that's something that we can dedicate time to in a meeting in the future to kind of start reviewing the list of subcommittees that we have and get council feedback on a whole to see if that subcommittee is still relevant, if we need to, again, revitalize it, if there's another subcommittee that we should create in its place, and just kind of wanted to clarify that language there, and if there's any questions around that. All right, I'm not seeing any red flags, so I'm going to move on because we're almost done. So again, another accomplishment that we had listed was the submission of a 2023 annual report. And I know that is a sore subject, but you all did it and it was submitted. And so that is an accomplishment in and of itself that we definitely wanted to highlight. So on September 1st, 2023, the council submitted their annual report of recommendations to the State Board of Human Services for review, implementation, which detailed council activities, discussion outcomes, and recommendations for future initiatives, with an emphasis on the integration of services and community-based approaches to the provision and access of behavioral health services. That the council struggled with the creation of the 2023 annual report due to the lack of BHA administrative support. We have since collaborated with the BHA to create a 2024 annual report subcommittee that has improved relations and provided the council with greater structure and support. The 2024 annual report subcommittee is an extension of the council and works to align the recommendations of the council through group collaboration, research, and organization. To ensure council collaboration, the council recommends to begin preparations for the 2025 annual report sooner than in years previous. So even though we started this subcommittee much sooner than it sounded like on the 2023 report, we're still finding that, we might need this extra time. And so again, that's, kind of why we're creating the special meetings. That's why we're starting to move the report subcommittee to weekly instead of every other week. And so, maybe in the beginning or next year, after this report's submitted, we can start even earlier to make sure that we have that extra time for collaboration and feedback. Tasha, were you talking? Yes.
I have a question for you. We term off in July of 2025. How are we going to be doing this report for next year?
So I don't know if everybody, I think you might be up for the re-election as well. Am I correct, Megan?
I believe so, Caitlin. We need to look into the terms, if they can serve additional terms. I believe that they can. There will also be new members, Tasha. And so we are looking at bringing members on in a staggered way so that in future years, in coming years, we won't have so many terms ending at the same time. So there will always be movement and bringing new members on throughout each year.
Okay, thank you. I was just thinking about that because July in the terms, if we signed our paper for that 3 year, if we don't get a second term, then yeah. So that's all.
I completely understand. And thank you for pointing that out, Tasha. Yeah, so we are going to be, staggering new members coming in. So it's difficult with this being like the inaugural council and everybody getting in at the same time, but moving forward, we're going to have, some pre-existing members, some new members coming in to help the new members on board, and it'll just kind of be staggered like that forward. So hopefully we won't be running into any issues like that in the future, but I do believe everybody is eligible for a second term right now. So knock on wood, I don't foresee any issues with that, but don't quote me on that yet. So all right. So just to kind of keep moving forward, if anybody doesn't have any huge red flag objections, we'll just kind of start moving on to section 2, which is where we're really going to start relying on everybody for their participation, their research, and their feedback. So in section 2, if you look at the template that is linked to the agenda, this is the section that is the statutorily required section for the council to review. The first statutory requirement to review is the identification of underserved populations. So before we hired these regional specialists to come in, we have not given you all of that information to make any recommendations or provide feedback on that identification of underserved populations. So we recognize that at BHA, and we have stated that at this time, the BHA has not provided the council with the necessary information to review and advise on the identification of underserved populations. BHA is dedicated to identifying this population and collaborating with the council as it receives the necessary information. But in this specific section, what we're asking for you in this feedback is when these conversations begin, how do you want to receive that information? So again, is this something that we would like to have, 20 minutes dedicated in each full council meeting to start reviewing? Would you like, maybe a 1-page quarterly report to kind of show you in black and white, how things are progressing, kind of our goals and future initiatives? So just really wanted to give you this space to kind of give some ideas with regards to when this communication starts happening. How would you like to receive that?
I think basically what I do is every month I get the BHA newsletter. So like I get all the like stuff that's happening in the BHA, And I don't know if it has anything to do, like if they list anything about the council in the newsletter or whatever, but the newsletter is a very good way to get information to us or out to us besides emails. I read all the emails that I get from BHAAC, but I also enjoy reading the newsletter from like the perspective of the people that write the stories and write the newsletter and stuff like that. So I think that would be a good way to get information out too. Besides a report, I mean, I'm less likely to read a report than I am a newsletter or a BHAAC email.
Absolutely. And I think that's a great resource that we can start tapping into because we do have so many newsletters throughout the state. And that's something that in the bylaws we really wanted to start tapping into as well. So I think that that's a great recommendation. Thank you. Carolyn.
I think more than one route is very good for me because sometimes I overlook things. So I think any way that we can get it out there, and I'm all for all three of these plus Seth's on the newsletter. That sounds really good. So, or for, yeah, all three of them. So with Seth's. So, yeah, I think I read my emails and I really get in depth and I love the going on and looking at the links and seeing what's there and reading about it. So that is really helpful to me.
Great. Thank you. Yeah, and I think that multiple avenue, that multiple disciplinary approach would be really beneficial, especially like Raquel was saying earlier, for audio learners versus visual learners. I know that I'm all over the board with my learning. So I think, like you said, any way that we can get and retain that information would be really helpful. So thank you for that.
I would also say that it would be nice to have the newsletter in other languages, because like Aurora has so many different languages of people that have moved here, and like people like Spanish and also other German and Russian and other languages, Braille, like getting the information out in Braille, and also audio books or audio like things. I always think about people with disabilities. Also, I like the idea of the newsletter because it's less likely, in my opinion, to get hacked from the BHA than the BHA's system. Like nobody's like gonna probably read or hack a newsletter and then send out people's email addresses and names to be from a newsletter. Whereas in an email, if someone was a bad actor and got into my email, they could like send emails to everyone on the council or whatever, or to BHA, and then like, you know, there'd be like all these questions about these emails that I didn't send.
That's a good point. Yeah, absolutely.
I want to think of like security too.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Great. All right. So moving on, because I know that we are just almost out of time, and I just really wanted to highlight what the council is currently working on, and this is the system-wide grievance system. So these are some of the questions that the council subcommittee members are asking themselves when they're starting to, you know, write about this and do some research about this. So basically, you know, how have you all been informed about the statewide grievance system so far? And with the information that you have received, how do you think that that fits into the larger statewide behavioral health system structure as a whole? You know, and then your recommendations about that. That could include things as, you know, the missing demographics, some of the missing metrics that we have, accessibility, like you were saying, Seth, transparency. So those are some of the questions that the council members are thinking about when they're starting to create that. And we would love you all to start thinking about that as well, and providing some feedback as well. So in I'm going to send out a follow-up email after this meeting to relink the working documents and all the other documents that are in this. And if you guys can start providing feedback, whether that, you know, just be jumping in on a subcommittee meeting, that would be wonderful. Even just an email, you know, highlighting some of the specific areas and concerns that you may have, so I can bring that to the subcommittee as a whole. That would be great to start receiving that kind of feedback from you all. And again, we're going to continue to work through this at the special sessions meeting in August as well. So I'm just going to quickly kind of go over the upcoming conversations and topics, and that's going to be the remainder of sections 2 and 3. So that's going to be the performance monitoring system, the behavioral health safety net system, and then your all recommendations as members of not only this council, but your respected communities and your expertise, and where you are seeing the greatest needs for your own communities. And we really want that input included there. So I know that was a lot to wrap up any last minute. I know, we again had just so much, and there's just not enough time in the world. So that's why we had that special sessions meeting. And again, we're looking to start these conversations for 2025 even sooner than we did this year. So I just really appreciate, again, the subcommittee has done just incredible work. The conversations that they've had are amazing. Their dependency, their reliability, and their commitment to this council is unwavering. And so just thank you. Thank you all for that time, your commitment. So Carolyn?
I have a quick question. My concern is like with grievances, in order to file a grievance, you need to know what your rights are. And I know that Medicaid and HCPF cut our rights down to maybe 4 or 5, there for a while, we didn't have any rights at all. No matter if we have a grievance, it's not going to get resolved. And so my thoughts is where can we find on the BHA side our rights as community members, as people utilizing services and family members, so that we can better advocate for ourselves in a grievance process.
Thank you. That's great feedback. And yes, if you could either, shoot that to me in an email or join one of the report subcommittee meetings and we can discuss that further, and we can absolutely, include that as a point of recommendation. And again, that increased transparency and that accessibility component. Where can we find this information? How are we distributing it to the public and things like that? So thank you, Carolyn.
Thank you.
All right. We did it. We're only like 2 minutes behind schedule. All right, Karen, we're going to pass it back over to you to introduce this.
Thanks. Yeah, great job. 2 minutes is not bad at all. So we're going to transition to doing some 988 updates. I believe we have some information coming up about an informational session that we're all invited to and going to be invited to register for.
Yes. All right. So you get to listen to me again, guys. Sorry about that. All right. So I just dropped in the chat the link to the informational section. So the commissioner emailed us, I believe it was the beginning of 2 weeks ago now. Time is just a cruel mistress. That, based on the contracts and everything that we have going on, they are going to be holding a 988 informational session for both BHA and the public. So the link to the Zoom registration is in the chat. It is scheduled for July 31st at 12 o'clock p.m. Thank you, Tasha. I appreciate you. And then I'm also going to drop in the chat the pre-meeting survey. So this is where they really want to start addressing some of your specific comments, concerns, and questions. So they're asking you all to fill out the survey before the meeting so they can kind of start reviewing that information and preparing on how to respond to your questions, comments, and concerns. So that is also linked in the chat. And then I believe we do have a couple of people here that can also speak to this if you all have any additional questions, comments, or concerns. Let's see here. Megan, do we have Chloe and them in?
Caitlin, we are working on getting them in. They are currently on as attendees, so they can hear the questions, but they are not yet on as panelists. So we're working on that right now. Sarah's on it.
Perfect. So as soon as they get in, we can give you guys a couple of minutes to maybe ask some of the current questions that you might have. But in the meantime, I highly recommend that and encourage you all to, to sign up for this informational session. I know that I will be in attendance because I want to be able to better support you all and just learn myself. This is a really important resource. that we have. And I think that the more knowledge that we have around it, the more understanding that we have around it will only further the strength of this resource and the community's engagement with it. Let me see here. So we'll be working on that. I'm hearing a lot of dings, so I know there's a lot of conversations happening to get them in. In the meantime, Seth, did you have a question?
Yeah, sorry. I just had a quick question, and maybe this will be revealed in the updates with the 988 update. So I understand that there is a new 988 number, and that Colorado Crisis Services is being a part of this new 988 number instead of the 1-800 number that we usually give out to people. But like, there's also the numbers of 311 and 211 and 911, and like is the state going to like somehow offer like they're trying to offer whole person healthcare with like wraparound services? Is part of this 988 gonna like link people to outside resources that might be the reasons of why they're calling in as far as 988 callers? And like, is there going to be like feedback from the 988 number that we're going to get, that what's going well or not going well, or what's going on? I know that we have Carolyn here to talk to us about it, which is great, but like, if she's not here, like whatever, like, are we going to hear about 988, any updates going on? So those are just some of my questions regarding the whole thing. Is like, is there going to be like linkage to other 311, 211, and other like phone calls, or and all? Are we going to get updates on the 988?
If you can give us just a moment, we just identified the issue. So one of our experts should be on momentarily to answer questions.
Hello, everyone. So sorry. I signed in using someone else's name. And so we were trying to figure out the back end, but I am here now. So
thank you so much, Chloe. No worries. Technology is great when it works. I got kicked out of the meeting earlier for some reason. So
I know Sarah's been working with us all week for this, and it was been totally gone off without a hitch. And then I was like, oh, I signed in as my coworker. So we figured it out. We're here.
No worries. At least you are here. So I don't know if you were able to hear that question that Seth had presented or not, but basically they were asking around what kind of feedback we're going to be getting from 988. Is there going to be any sort of like metric tracking on what's working well, what could be improved, and then what resources are going to be provided to the community when they do call in?
Yeah, so I'll start on the first piece of Seth's question. Thank you for your question. I think that's really great. I think that's really top of mind for our team as well as the new vendor. Solari is extremely prioritizes very much data and implementation, and making sure that whatever they are learning is both shared back with us, as well as they are able to take action on any of those changes that might make the service more efficient, more effective, more culturally relevant. We are working with them very closely, and that is something that we can talk with them about every single week in terms of how can we learn from the community, how can we understand better, how we can serve them better, what are we doing to do those things. And I think for us as BHA and 988 employees, it's really prioritizing both the community engagement and marketing piece of it, but also the service level. So making sure that we are working collaboratively with all our stakeholders, understanding we are doing a very big community engagement activities right now. And so we're really working to identify our priority populations. We did a huge 1.5 years of extensive research to really understand how people perceive mental health behavioral health services, how they're getting connected to them. We did adults as well as youth and their parents or caregivers. They did like an online bulletin board and were able to converse together and have open dialogue with our research assistants, as well as put out our look and feels, 4 different brand options, different messaging options, both in English and Spanish, and really were able to understand what we were missing in all of those elements, what we needed to make sure of, how do we need to market, where do we need to make sure that we're reaching humans, what questions do we need to be asking, and we really were able to understand what the barriers are presently for accessing different lifeline services, as well as behavioral health services here in the state of Colorado, and ensuring that our marketing, as well as our community engagement and the relationships that we are building, meet the needs of our community. So we feel really good about what we did over the last year and a half to really take that priority and be strategic and informing or using the information that we got to inform our decision making as we developed our marketing, as well as our community engagement targets. And so I think right now it really is building relationships, letting people understand, allowing people to ask questions, understanding how the service works, what to be expected when you do call. And then we also have a really awesome team that is working from the Evaluation Center at the University of Colorado, Denver. And they are working on the data side. So they're going to be working and implementing various tools for our team, as well as us to share back. We're governed by a 988 enterprise board. And so sharing back with them as well on how the service is doing, what the answer rates are, what people are calling and texting and live chatting about, and then also sharing that with our federal partners. So Bronwyn can add anything else to what I just said, but that is a top priority for us right now.
Okay, I just have another question. I'm sure you guys have thought of or are thinking about how do you market or how do you get the information out to people that are hearing impaired or blind? I can understand that someone who's hearing impaired might be able to use ASL and chat features, and maybe they are able to read if they're from this country or other countries that come here, and English is a part of their first language. But I think also other languages needs to be kind of marketed to other communities, like in Spanish. And like I said, Aurora has like 150 different languages per se. And then like also like is there like I'm not 100% sure how it happens when someone who is blind calls 988. That's something I would need to educate myself about. But I'm sure it's like a voice prompt or something that would do the dialing or something. But like I just would want a little bit more information from the disability perspective of how this information is going to get out and marketed.
Yes, yeah, thank you. And that's a really important question. For us, 988, so as most of you are aware, Colorado Crisis Services has been here in the state. And so we have the crisis system here. What 988 really allows us to do, and has become our marketing priority right now, and we're saying, Colorado Crisis Services is not going anywhere. 988 offers modalities that reach a much broader audience. And that's something that we do not have with the Colorado Crisis Services system here. So for those who are deaf or hard of hearing, there are various options that are both available via video phone and for TTY users. And so what the Lifeline is able to do, and that's a huge priority for them at the federal level, and also working with our state local contact center, is making sure that we are reaching all of our populations as well as by language. So they have over 200 different translation services, as well as offer both live chat and the video phone option for those who may need it.
Hey,
so we can follow up too on that.
Thank you, Chloe. I need to jump in really quick. Our chair had to hop off, but I am looking at the time and we are in public comment. So I want to flag that. What's that, Caitlin?
I came back.
Okay.
Oh, she's back. Okay.
But that was exactly where I was going. So thank you so much for the 988 updates. And I believe we have a public comment. Or I'm sorry, we have a form that you could complete for any of your remaining questions about 988 or any of your comments.
I'm going to redrop it in the chat as well. It is in there, but I'm going to just put that to the forefront of the chat again, as well as the link to the Zoom registration. So please look for that in the chat.
Okay, as we move into public comment, I just want to put a reminder that public comment needs to be limited to 2 minutes per comment.
I see somebody's hand up in the attendees, in the attendee thing. There's a hand raised.
Thanks for calling that out, Tasha.
That was mine. I just lowered it. Sorry. Actually, I just
No,
have
it
like,
wasn't. It's Pia Long.
Sarah, can you unmute the attendee so they can ask their question?
Hi, I actually just had a comment. I just wanted to say I was so pleased with the moment when we were going over the vision statement and all of the input. It just shows how much everybody on this call and in that subcommittee is caring about the voice of Colorado. So I just wanted, it was just a comment, not a question.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pia.
I also just want to say there's
Raise your hand, Seth. Sorry.
I just want to say that I was politely corrected on terminology, and that as far as the ASL interpreter told me that the deaf community no longer uses hearing impaired. It like sounds as if it makes them sound like they're broken or something, and they're not. So as far as I understand, the deaf community is still a valid thing to say, but I just wanted to share that with other council members so that they don't, make the same mistake that I made. So, but that's just it.
We have 1 more minute for public comment. So just a reminder that if you would like to share public comment, please raise your hand and we will unmute you so that you can share your comment. Okay, seeing no further comments, I will pass it back to our chair. I did want to thank you all for your amazing participation today, your dedication, and Caitlin Long, you have been phenomenal in supporting this council with so many things. We have been much anticipating your onboarding, and now you're here, and it's fantastic work, and it's really exciting. to have you and the valuable work that you've been providing to BHAAC. So thank you to everyone, and I will pass it back to your chair.
Thanks, Megan. Thanks, Caitlin. I feel like you did do a lot of talking today, and we really needed all of the support. So each of us really appreciate you. I think the only announcement I have to give is our next meeting is going to be on August 15th from 9 to 11, and that is our the special council meeting that we all voted to have. Thank you, Tasha. And so I think the last thing I have to do is just move to adjourn our meeting. Do we have any seconds?
Second.
Yeah. Great. Thanks, Seth. I hope everyone has a great rest of your day.
Thank you, everybody. Looking forward to see you in August. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, guys. Thank you. Welcome all the new people. It was great meeting all you guys. Have a great weekend.